Hello, welcome to Reframing Mindset Podcast. We are clear my head of the thoughts that are preventing clarity, practice my speech, among other things. Episodes range from informative knowledge to funny stories about my experiences, and in the future, maybe include interviews. So subscribe and enjoy. Episodes drop every other day. Okay, welcome back to Reframe Mindset Podcast. My name is Constant Brooks, and this episode I talk about getting a dog because we're in a I'm in the second year of home ownership, and one of those things where, as I said, dogs is a man's best friend, but growing up, it was my worst enemy, and it's one of those things where you're at this stage in life, and you're breaking the curses that you were growing up into, trying to change the cycle. That's one of the things for anything that you're doing. You're not going to buy into a situation that you dream of. So you have obstacles and challenges, and what happens is that you're gonna go through those obstacles and challenges and stuff, and then what happens is that you reach a point in time, if you survive it, then you'll be in a position where you're reaching to adulthood, getting work or something like that, and then you'll be in a position to say, okay, I could bring us a younger me into the future. But all those stuff that you had to go through and stuff like that, you would want to go through the same thing, because what happened is that the same risk, all those stuff, so all the expenses and stuff that you spend just to make you live long enough to reach here, all the fears that you have to go through just to go back and to live that, just to reach here that I am now, they would have to go through the same thing. So what would happen is that you at least try to change some of those stuff. And you never know if you could reach that point. So this is one of those things where I could reach a point where getting a dog could basically change that cycle again. Where in the sense that I have seen good dogs where what happened is not really good dog, but what happened is that you know when I was at my grandparents' place, I was at my grandmother's place. What would happen is that a neighbor had a dog, and it was really violent against me at the beginning. But what happened was that eventually, I would like when I eat food and such like that, I would just give throw the bones over there, because we did not have any dog or anything like that. But the neighbor had the dog, so we would give them the bone and such like that. And every day we did that. Every day we did that. And eventually what happened was that the dog actually got friendly towards us and did not harm us. And then what happened was that the dog kind of become receptive to me, even though I had that fear and tolerance of dog. And sometimes I would try to touch the dog, but um I was still a bit scared because I don't know if he would basically bite me or anything like that. But he had no malice towards me, because after all the time I feeding him, he had no malice towards me. So what happens is that I know that dog can become good when they are trained. But the thing about it is that there's a lot of stray dogs, and a lot of people don't actually take the time to train the dog. So it's like it's all the negative connotation that comes with dogs that you're dealing with. So it's one of those stuff where I would consider it, but it would really take it would take like a real like dog how that to be trained, that have to actually go through the process of actually learning about the dog and stuff like that to actually understand, because you know it, the traumatizing growth with them in my younger years, it would take a long a real makeover to actually get back the positive view on them as well. And the thing is, to getting a dog out about getting a cat as well, or getting a cat. The thing about cats, one of the things was that it wasn't the fact that I was afraid of cats or stuff, but what happened was that the cats were always very fragile. And there was this thing that I had with cats where every time I would try to pick them up, I'm feeling their ribs. And that was very weird why in the world I'm feeling their ribs. So every time I feel try to pick them up, it feels like I'm going to break them. Because of that, I don't really I don't never consider about getting a cat and stuff. But if they come, I would actually feed them and stuff. And the horrible thing about cat is that I live in a dog community, and what happened was that there would always be a nice cat that comes around my home because growing up in our home we never had a dog, but the community always had a dog, and their dogs always bad. So that's where reason why it's bad experiences because all these people would have these dogs, but they're not training them. I'm like, it's like really bad things, really bad things. You're getting this stuff and they would just let them. There's no fence or anything like that. You're just letting these dogs loose to really. And what would happen is that because this dog is such a menace to the community, they would actually maybe something like sometimes poison the dog or stuff like that. But me before that point, I had to actually go through the process of dealing with those dogs. I have to go through the process of trying to pass those dogs without them. I had to go to school and being afraid that these dogs. So what happened is my mother would actually guide me, walk with me to pass those dogs every morning. I'm like, bro, that's a traumatizing way to grow a kid in a community, bro. And you're saying you want it's like so it's one of those things where you realize that you want a better life, but you're doing so much traumatizing things to actually you live such a traumatizing life, bro. In the world is going to make it says that one of those things where you know me surviving and such like that. You know what I see, all my experiences. Now this has been my my whole life is that for every bad experience, I try to actually try to maneuver to make to get over it and then understand how to actually positively change it. And that has been working for a long while up to my bachelor's degree and such. But as I grow older, the changes that I want are bigger and bigger, such like that. So it takes more resources and more things to change. So it's not easy. It's not easy. It's just that it takes time. And one of those things is the thing with dogs. And the thing about it, dogs is that it's like, for example, cleanliness or stuff like that. There's a lot of people that just okay with not being cleansy. Like when I was younger, I was not really the best cleaner or such like that. So I was I was always pretty in my field. But as got older, I like the fact of getting cleansy. But there are people just naturally adults who just just stick into the filthiness or just loves to be stuck in a bad situation. I'm like, so no matter how you try, there's reality like that where a person doesn't love to be stuck in that bad situation. They just can't do anything. But if you're listening to this podcast, you're just one of those persons who don't want to be that. So you have to actually take active changes, not really just change, tweak certain things as you go through them. So so I have the not bad experience with dogs. Live past that part where I kind of have some com- you know, I have somewhat the upper hand now where I'm dealing with certain dogs, certain dog. So the next phase will be for me to actually get one under control, where if it's my dog and stuff like that, but not have them be the same have the negative type, traumatizing type that have to grow up around. And the first thing is that the home that I have is pretty it's gated, so it should not have we should not have trouble with the dogs that I would have had, that traumatizing experience dealing with the dogs with people that can't even have a fence, bro. They can't have a gate or stuff around their home, but they're having dogs. Yeah. So it's one of those stuff. So that's it. I mean, in the position now to actually have a proper friendly dog experience. It could be, but will I? You don't know. But I'm just throwing the ideas out there because you never know. That's the thing about this podcast. I'm throwing out the ideas there, and then eventually you just reach a point where you could execute on those ideas, and then boom. So that you realize in the podcast as well. I'm throwing out some ideas, and then boom, eventually a part of the episode, you'll be like, "Oh my god, this became a reality," and dead. But I never know at the time it became a reality. You just know that okay, this is something I would like to do, but you know, that's how we like it to be done. But the reality at that time they not called it to be that. But no, so that's the thing with the dogs now. And I don't know if we'll get a dog, but the hope I see the positive side of actually trying to get a dog now. The man best friend stuff. As I'm getting older and such like that, why not? So that's basically for this episode. Thank you for listening, and look forward for the next episode. Okay.
Well, this is the end of the episode. Thanks for watching and look forward for the next episode. To support this podcast, go to anchor.fm/cssb/support or become a sponsor for this episode. If you have a product that you want to have more exposure, DM me on the Instagram page, Reframing Mindset Podcast, or on Twitter at ReframingP. Either way would help. Thank you regardless for listening, and here's a preview for the next episode.
But I guess the 95 experience, 32 weeks. Yeah. And I guess this week, I guess not much. More coaching up this week. But what was frustrating about this week with the new shift is the the Hunger Games to get a taxi, bro. That's why I really need my own vehicle, but you have to work. Yeah, but the Hunger Game to get a taxi, it's that's the thing about work and stuff. It's like it's so. The thing about work is that if you really break it down, it's so simple. It could be so simple, but there's so many obstacles. Get it from the point of where